So we are doing honorable mentions. This video is way too long for me to put a part one to this. So we're just going to look at some running backs that have made themselves well known in the league. Um, Definitely there are a lot of running back talent out in the league, but these are the guys that I believe really has some respect in the league, especially with their numbers, their production, what they've made out of their teams. And we have a good group of diversity, from young guys that are starting out that have the ability of being superstars in the league to guys that are in their prime and just in the middle of their careers that are establishing themselves as some of the best running backs in the league. And I mean, even some veteran guys that are there that have been elite for a while, and maybe they're trying to jump back to where they used to be, and their production isn't where it needs to be. But either way, a diverse group of guys, each of them unique in their own way, and each of them deserving of being mentioned in some sort of light as being some top running back talent. So we start off this list with David Montgomery. David Montgomery has had a quiet year, definitely not a year that is eye-dropping or jaw-dropping, um, eye-opening. But I do believe that David Montgomery has that power, man. He's the power back. He's a guy that you do not want to meet trying to tackle this man. He's almost impossible to bring down. His break tackle is amazing. I do believe he's got some looseness to him, and I mean, he powered his way through, man. I mean, ever since Marshawn, I think we've gotten some decent amount of power backs in the league. You know, Running backs want to start being more physical. They want to be able to run down the middle, down your throat, and not be afraid to get hit. And honestly, this is exactly what David Montgomery's about. David Montgomery, 26 years old, 4 years in the league. He signed a 3-year, $18 million deal with Detroit. It's actually a fantastic deal for Detroit. I feel like they'll definitely benefit from him, especially losing DeAndre Swift. He played in 16 games and started 16. 201 carries for 801 rushing yards, 5 touchdowns. He had 4 yards per carry, 50.1 yards per game. He also had 34 receptions, 316 receiving yards, 1 touchdown, a total of 1,117 scrimmage yards, and 2 fumbles. No playoffs, no, honorables at all. But I mean, he's still a fantastic running back in the league. He's still young, so I think he's still produced to be one of the top guys. It's kind of hard with the amount of talent that's there. I feel like him in Detroit, though, that'll be a pretty nice transition having him. Jared Goff can really use that kind of guy, and I really feel like that offense is going to be amazing. Whether they win the NFC North, we'll see how it goes. But I mean, they definitely are talented enough to make a mark in the league this year. Next up, we got a change in the way running backs are made. We got a young guy, 23 years old, 1 year in the league, Tyler Allgeier. This Atlanta Falcons team is an underrated run offense with Cordero, with obviously Tyler Allgeier, and I'm trying to remember one of the other running backs off the top of my head. Cannot remember, so embarrassing me here. But overall, I mean, those 2 running backs in itself, they give defenses a headache, right? And I mean, this Atlanta team is rebuilding. There's no Matty Ice, there's no Roddy White, there's no Julio Jones, there's no Michael Turner. The list can go on and on. There is new players and new generation of talent. Drake London, Tyler Allgeier, Desmond Ridder, these kind of guys can really push Atlanta to becoming an NFC South king again. And honestly, I ain't a Falcons fan, but I mean, it would be nice to see them have some type of ring, some type of championship out in that town. I believe that they do deserve it. I mean, especially after only being to 2 and losing both of them. Obviously, the last one being pretty ugly. Not what you want to see. But overall, I mean, this is a good team. I think this team can definitely make a run with the NFC South, especially how weak it is. everyone's got something to prove out in that division. So we'll see how it goes. It's going to be a very entertaining season for sure. Tyler Allgeier is the main guy, though. Tyler Allgeier, 3 years, $2.95 million left in his contract for his rookie deal. 16 games that he played and started. He had 210 carries, 1,035 rushing yards, cracking the 1,000 rushing yard season for rookie. That's a nice start. With 3 touchdowns, 4.9 yards a carry, nice. 64.7 yards a game, not terrible. 16 receptions, 139 receiving yards for a touchdown. Overall, 1,174 scrimmage yards, 0 fumbles, so that's also nice to see that he's not. His ability to hold on to the football, that's really good for a young running back. And, low-key, he's a great receiving back as well. So overall, he's a threat, dual threat for sure. And he did finish 5th in the Offensive Rookie of the Year. Of course, like I said, Atlanta is rebuilding, so no playoffs, no nothing. But it's a great start to this kid's career, and I do believe that he's got a lot of potential to be one of the best running backs in the league eventually. So next up, we got a new player and a new team. So Miles Sanders, man. So DeAndre Swift is a Lion. He's not mentioned in this list just based on the fact that he was very inconsistent. But he's also super young, so I believe he'll do great things in Philly. With that offensive line, he's going to crack 1,000 rushing yards. Maybe even, I would say, potential maybe 1,300 yards, really. I believe so, especially with the balanced attack in that offense. Jalen Hurts, with Devontae, with the Dallas Goedert, with A.J. Brown, with the Quez, and having the ability to have DeAndre Swift, man, with that all-pro line. They'll have a great time. But before him was Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders is now a Carolina Panther, so that'll be fun to see what he does with Bryce Young. He is super young still, so he's in his prime. We'll see how he does. So Miles Sanders, he is 26. He's 4 years in the league. He signed a 4-year, $25.4 million deal with Carolina. He started and played 17 games, 259 carries for 1,269 rushing yards. Also had 11 rushing touchdowns, 4.9 yards a carry, 74.6 yards a game, 20 receptions for 78 receiving yards, 1,347 scrimmage yards total with 2 fumbles. In the playoffs, 3 games played and started in the Super Bowl, 35 carries for 148 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, 4.2 yards a carry, 49.3 yards a game, with only 1 reception for 3 yards, 151 yards of scrimmage, 1 fumble, and he was a Pro Bowler. So overall, great year for him. He's not the best running back I've seen. He's not, the most basic one. I think he's got a little bit of elusiveness to him, obviously, and I wouldn't say he's a major power back. I wouldn't say he's a major elusive back. I think he just does everything really well. I know that his offensive line helped him a lot, but he also is talented. He is a talented football player. Great to watch running back, and I think he's underrated. I really do. Skill set though wise, nice, and but I do believe that Carolina will definitely benefit from having a football player like a Miles Sanders for sure. He should be mentioned on the top tier running backs in this league. Next up, we have another guy who's in the middle of his prime as well, at 26 years old, 4 years in the league, Tony Pollard, who is going to take over for Zeke as the full-time running back, and who honestly showed a lot of promise. He's got so much speed to him. He's just quick, man. He's quick. He's great change of direction for him. And honestly, could be pretty good. He could have a rushing title, honestly, this year. It's questionable with how they're going to build their team. I still feel like Dallas is a really great team, great defense for sure. And their offensive line, they're always not as bad as everyone makes them seem. Just because they had that run of having that wall. Not many people know who a lot of these guys are now, but this is a solid team. Dak might be the only question mark for me on what he's going to do. I mean, it's It's honestly a team that can go to an NFC Championship. It's honestly a team that I think can go to a Super Bowl. It just depends on what Dak does and what this team will do, especially in pivotal playoff moments. I thought they really were busting their butt out there in the divisional round against the 49ers. Just the Niners had the edge. They had a better roster. So, you know, they can't you can't count out their effort, right? But Tony Pollard has got a year, $10.09 million deal there. So we'll see what they do with him. Are they going to move on from him because he is 26? Or are they going to keep him and, maybe he'll be like a DeMarco Murray for a couple of years or something like that, He played in 16 games. He started only 4. Those 4, that's where he showed that he could be a star in this league. 193 carries for 1,007 rushing yards, 9 touchdowns, 5.2 yards a carry, 62.9 yards a game, 39 receptions for 371 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1,378 scrimmage yards, and 0 fumbles. 2 games in the playoffs, 21 carries for 99 yards, 4.7 yards a carry, and 49.5 yards a game, 5 receptions, 23 yards, and 122 scrimmage yards with a Pro Bowl. So overall, Pro Bowler, had a great year, filled in for Zeke, and now he's a starting running back. We will see what he does. I do believe that the sky is the limit, though. Next player is going to take possibly a while, but I'll try to shorten it and be sweet about it. But Ezekiel Elliott, 27 years old, 7 years, got booted out for Tony Pollard, right? He's got something to prove. He's got a lot to prove to the league. He still can be a top 10 running back, I feel like. He gets in the right system. He can be productive. He can honestly be productive for a contending team. So he is a free agent right now, so no contract yet. 15 games played, 14 games started, 231 carries, 876 yards, 12 touchdowns, 3.8 yards a carry, 58.4 yards a game, 17 receptions, 92 yards, 0 touchdowns, but 0 fumbles, with 968 scrimmage yards. Playoffs, 23 carries, 53 yards, 2.3 yards a carry, 26.5 yards a game, 3 receptions, 16 yards, 69 scrimmage yards. Again, it's a guy that has a lot to prove, and I know he's ready to prove it, and I do believe that he has the ability of being very impactful. So he's still 27, he's still young. Teams that I feel like should invest in him real quick, and I think it's simple. Some of these teams just need a running back. Some of these teams just could use like a double back combo. Buffalo could use it. James Cook, I don't think he's the answer. Baltimore, everyone is injured. Everyone's banged up. Put him in there. You already gave a chance to Odell. Give a chance to Zeke. Why not? Chicago, Deontay Foreman's all right, right? He's going to be a starting running back there, but maybe they use Zeke, maybe. Cleveland, Nick Chubb and him could be scary. Jacksonville, Etienne and him could be scary. Kansas City, they always take a chance with guys. Why not take a chance with Zeke? Las Vegas with Josh Jacobs could be something. Miami, you already got some guys that are, they're winners, right? Young, fast guys. Why not get a power back? New England, because it's New England, I feel like with Rhamondre Stevenson, that could be deadly. New Orleans with Kamara, I think that could also work. Tampa Bay, why not? You got Rashad White. Try to have him there. Maybe he's your little Lenny, playoff Lenny kind of guy. The Jets, you could use them with Breece Hall. You never know. That could be scary. So, these are just my teams that I feel like can invest, teams that I think can step it up to the next level, and I feel like they could use a Zeke. So, Ezekiel has got something to prove. I still feel like he's a top running back in the league. I just think he needs to have another productive season to get back up there. Next, we got another interesting back who's been in the league for a while, 28 years old, 6 years in the league. Jamal Williams was a great duo with Aaron Jones, and then went to Detroit and killed it. And now he's with Kamara. I think I mentioned Zeke with Kamara the last video. The last player that I did was Zeke, obviously. So, it could be question mark, right? Maybe they don't need 3 running backs. I was just kind of pinpointing what can happen. I feel like Kamara and Jamal Williams, though, will be just enough. Jamal Williams is a great power back and a great back in the end zone, and he can get you some good spark plays. And, honestly, he's a journeyman, but He's also a productive running back, and he shouldn't be looked at as just a journeyman. Jamal Williams, as a Saint, 3 years, $12 million. He did play in 17 games. He started in 9 of them, 262 carries for 1,066 rushing yards, 17 rushing touchdowns, led the league in rushing touchdowns, 4.1 yards a carry, 62.7 yards a game with 12 receptions and 73 yards with 1,139 scrimmage yards and 3 fumbles. No Pro Bowls, nothing like that. But I mean, he's just a guy that you just would like in the end zone. You want to feed the ball, feed it to him. You know, he would say something like he's got the power of anime on his side and whatnot. I like his personality. I like that he's an anime nerd and he's okay to show that. But, when he comes to ball, he comes to ball. He's goofy, but he also is serious and he's also productive. So I like Jamal Williams as a personality, but also as a football player. Fantastic. And New Orleans will have a good time with him. All right, so Jamal Williams is a Saint now, and he's going to be sharing the backfield with my other honorable mention, who's definitely slowed down a bit. He was one of the best running backs in the league. I think he's taken a dip with time. Personally, probably because there's just running back potential is insane, and there's just a lot of great running backs out there. I do believe he can get back to that top 10 list. But right now, I got him as honorable mention. So let's break it down real quick. So he's 27 years old, 6 years in the league. He has a 3-year, $47.8 million contract with a potential out of that contract in 2024, which would lead the Saints to have $16.74 million in dead money. Pretty much, they would still own some of that. They're in cap space hell. So we'll see how it goes with New Orleans. I mean, they got some questions and some questions that haven't been answered yet. Is Derek Carr going to perform? Is he going to look better in New Orleans than he was in Las Vegas? They got some young guys out there. They have a pretty solid defense that no one really talks about. So they have a good chance in the South Division that's not established yet. They're just all building up for something that could possibly be pretty great besides Tampa. So Kamara, 15 games played, 13 games he started, 223 carries for 897 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns, 4 yards a carry, 59.8 yards a game, 57 receptions for 490 receiving yards, with 2 touchdowns. Overall, 1,387 scrimmage yards and 4 fumbles. No valuables to take home. There wasn't no Pro Bowls. There wasn't no, Offensive Player of the Year candidates, nothing like that. So, he had an okay year. I mean, not cracking 1,000 yards really does kind of hurt you in terms of the potential of all these running backs. So, I'm not gonna say he's terrible. I'm just gonna say that he just had a unproductive season. But he is a dual threat running back. He's still very much so a threat to go off, and I do believe that he's going to do really well. I think having a Derek Carr, who definitely you can tell is always looking for a dump pass. If he's not looking for a tight end, if he's not looking to go deep, he's going to look for Kamara. So I believe the game plan that they got going on over there, I think could be solid. And like I said, I believe New Orleans could be solid. Just a lot of unanswered questions. So we'll see how it goes. But Kamara should be one of those running backs, though, still. That can still be at the top of his game. That can still dominate a football game. So this next running back is explosive. He's got some power to him. And, I mean, honestly, it's just another running back that Seattle kind of hit out of the park with in the draft. Seattle's always been talented in the draft. They've always been on point with it, and they've always said, hey, this is who we think is going to be it, and he turns out to be more than that. Kenneth Walker III is one of those guys that I got to say is talented by a mile. He's just so gifted. He's so advanced. He's honestly ready to just be the starting running back for Seattle long term. And I mean, he played in a number of games last year for him to really prove that to a lot of people. And honestly, it's just made the NFC West defenses want to just kind of just be in this state of fear that Seattle's got another reign of, supreme talent in this division, man. Because they've always been, like I said, amazing in the draft. They have talent. They have so much talent there. They have a bright future. They got some veteran guys that are probably going to be on the out in the next couple of years. But I mean, can't really go wrong with what they got right now. I think they can definitely be a playoff team again, and I believe they're going to be very, very beneficial of having a Kenneth Walker on their team. He's only 23 years old. He's been in the year for 1 year, so last year was his rookie year. 3 years, $4.4 million deal left in his rookie contract. 15 games played, 11 started, 228 carries for 1,050 rushing yards, 9 rushing touchdowns, 4.6 yards a carry, 70 yards a game, 27 receptions for 165 receiving yards, 1,215 scrimmage yards, and no fumbles. In the playoffs, the wild card game against the Niners, 15 carries for 63 yards, 1 touchdown, 4.2 yards a carry, 1 reception for 3 yards, and 0 fumbles. He doesn't fumble, and that's really crucial as a rookie, to not fumble, and having that elusiveness that he has, and having that vision that he has at such a young age. I believe he is a tremendous talent, and like I said, Seattle knocked out of the park, and they have so much to be thankful for and grateful for, and Seattle fans are going to be very ecstatic about it, especially since he was second in voting for Offensive Rookie of the Year. I believe he has everything needed to being the best, and I believe he is going to be the best for a long time. The next guy we got is Rhamondre Stevenson. Now, this is a name that isn't really well known. People don't really know much about the guy, uh, other than, he's a New England Patriot running back. There's not been many New England Patriot running backs that have been well known, right? Corey Dillon, sure, Marshall Falk, or not Marshall Falk, Kevin Falk, excuse me. Um, I mean, Lawrence Maroney, I believe. Lawrence Maroney, yeah. But are those guys like well known in terms of all time? Not necessarily. So, when you get that going, it's like, well, New England Patriots are known for passing offense, right? Obviously, Tom Brady for now, obviously, with Mac Jones in there, who's been very inconsistent. We'll see what he does this year. The point of it is they've always had a run game, just people didn't really notice. And Rhamondre Stevenson's another running back that I believe should be noticed, though, just because of the fact that he runs angry. Um, he runs angry. He's great at being a receiving back. And he's a tough dude. He's a tough dude, and he's so young. And I feel like he has the ability of being a multiple 1,000-yard rusher, you know. And I think he could be a key point, if not in New England, somewhere else. But I believe he could be a great running back. Top 10, that could be a stretch. But I mean, I could see him on this list for a while. Just the way he plays. I enjoy the way he plays as a blue-collar running back. So Rhamondre is 25 years old, 2 years in the league. 2 years, $1.99 million left in his rookie deal. 17 games played and started. 210 carries for 1,040 yards. 5 touchdowns, 5 yards a carry, 61.2 yards a game, 69 receptions for 421 yards and 1 touchdown with 1,461 scrimmage yards, and as well as 4 fumbles. No playoffs. New England did not get there this year, but he's a tough runner, 1,000-yard rusher, and I mean he's going to be a future Pro Bowler, I guarantee it. And he's going to be a focal point of this team moving forward. I'm sure they will want to re-sign him. And he's still young, still got a lot to improve on, still can get better, but he really makes this offense go. So, Rhamondre Stevenson, good running back, and I see a bright future with this young man. Najee Harris is our next one. Another young running back, has a lot in his package, man. I mean, another tough running back like Stevenson, bigger than Stevenson though, and just elusive, but also just a straight power back, man, like a Marshawn Lynch. Um, and I mean, he gets it done, man. He gets it done. Unfortunately, the offensive line isn't super polished, so yeah, he hasn't had the ability to be carrying a football team or, having a great Steeler running back season like Steeler running backs have had. But this is a guy that's so athletic and ability of changing a game, and could be their new Le'Veon Bell, really, um, and hopefully for a longer time than Le'Veon Bell had. So overall, I believe Najee Harris, the ceiling is through the roof. His potential is through the roof, and I'm excited to see what he does. Right, 25 years old, 2 years in the league, 2 years, $4.2 million left on his rookie deal. 17 games played and started. 272 carries, 1,034 rushing yards, 7 touchdowns, 3.8 yards a carry. Again, offensive line issues could be higher if he had an offensive line. 60.8 yards a game, 41 receptions for 229 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns, 1,263 scrimmage yards with 3 fumbles. Again, athletic guy, has so many things that are just outstanding to me. I think he just needs to keep improving. He needs to keep working. And I think they just need to build around him in terms of offensive line and protection. And I mean, the sky, like I said, sky's the limit. And I see him being a future top 10 running back in this league, especially if they get him help. And I do believe he'll be a key focal point in the Steeler offense. I think, we'll see what happens to this young Steeler offense in general. And I mean, I'm excited to see what happens to this Pittsburgh team throughout this, entirety of their rebuild that they got going on. The future is bright. As a Raven fan, it's very scary to see them back to relevancy, but I mean, overall, that's how it is. Pittsburgh football, they always get it done. They always seem to get back in the spotlight, and when they make picks like a Najee Harris, they got to be happy about what they're doing out there. So Najee, though, honorable mention, soon to be top 10 list if he gets help from that offensive line and if he can continue to improve as a running back himself. We're getting closer to the end of the list, so next up we have Travis Etienne. Travis Etienne, young guy, great potential for him and the Jacksonville Jaguars in this young offense. I believe there's a lot of things to look forward to with this team. They're definitely going to probably win the division this year. I do believe that they can get to an AFC Championship game, and I believe that there is a great shot if they continue to build, they continue to be better as a team, they continue to progress their players, that they can probably make a run for a Super Bowl. Definitely. Travis Etienne will be one of those focal pieces for that as well, which I, for a while, was not understanding of why they drafted Etienne. They had a James Robinson who rushed for 1,000-something yards, and he looked like a great power back. And, now I feel like he hasn't really been given that opportunity to really become a starting running back ever since he left Jacksonville. So I'm a little sad. I believe the potential for him is there too. So I'm not sure why, they wanted to draft Etienne, but then I saw why. And not saying James Robinson isn't as good as Etienne. Not saying that Etienne is way better than James Robinson at all. It's just the fact that he does have that elusiveness. He's got that speed, and he makes it look easy, dude. He's over here being, swifty with it, and change of direction's insane. And like I said, he gets the ball and he carries it for 9-10+ yards. So his potential is through the roof, really. And so he's only 24 years old. He's been in the league for 2 years. He has a 2 years, $4.25 million deal on his rookie contract. 17 games played, 12 started, 220 carries for 1,125 rushing yards for 5 touchdowns, 5.1 yards a carry, 66.2 yards a game, 35 receptions for 316 yards, 1,441 scrimmage yards, and 5 fumbles. In the playoffs, he played and started in 2 games, lost to the Chiefs in the divisional round. He had 30 carries for 171 yards and a touchdown, 5.7 yards a carry, 85.5 yards a game, 4 receptions, 30 yards for a combined 201 scrimmage yards and 0 fumbles. Again, nothing but, just high potential from this guy. And, like I said, he's a future running back that I could see top 10. So we will see what happens with him, and we'll see what the future holds with him, but it is bright. It is bright in Jacksonville. The last honorable mention that I have on this list is Dameon Pierce, who has probably the best shot at being a top 10 running back in the league just because of the power, man. The power. He's not the fastest guy, but he's also shifty enough. He's like a Brandon Jacobs. He's like a Marshawn Lynch kind of back, man. And he's hard to bring down, man. That's a big boy to bring down, over 6 feet, and just straight power, and makes moves that, are, not as shifty, not as quick, so you might think, he's going to get tackled, but it's just the right footwork, and he's really made Houston just entertaining to watch in terms of his play, So I think with the C.J. Stroud there, with the Will Anderson Jr. there, with the team, looking to get better, which I feel like they can. This team the sky's the limit with this team, hopefully in the future they can get back to playoff contention, but they probably want more than that, especially being divisional round teams, not even getting to an AFC Championship game, not even getting to a Super Bowl yet. It's one of the few teams that haven't gone to a Super Bowl, and I think that this is going to be that time where, can they build upon C.J. Stroud with the Dameon Pierces, with the Will Anderson Jr.'s? Can they get guys that are reliable, that are key players, and get them to Super Bowl contention? We'll see. We'll see what the management does and the ownership. But Dameon Pierce now, 23 years old, 1 year in the league, 3 years, $2.98 million left in his rookie deal. 13 games played and started, 220 carries for 939 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns, 4.3 yards a carry, 72.2 yards a game, 30 receptions for 165 receiving yards, 1 touchdown, 1,104 scrimmage yards, 4 fumbles, and was 9th on the Offensive Rookie of the Year. Overall, he's dangerous, man. He's dangerous. He didn't crack 1,000 yards, I get that, but his impact is crucial. And only 1 year in the league, still super young. I still think he can get it done. I still think he can be very, very valuable to this team. And by the time next year, I do believe he will be a top 10 running back in the NFL. For sure, this is the one running back I see top 10 list.